The massive crystal towers of the Kethmoran Imperial Palace stretched into the purple sky of Valdris Prime. Inside the War Council chamber, holographic displays showed the Empire's vast reach across the galaxy. 40,000 star systems bowed to their rule. Countless species served under their banner. The Empire had grown fat and lazy on easy victories. Admiral Vector stood before the central display, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. The newest intelligence reports glowed in the air around him. Another primitive world had been discovered. Another easy conquest waited. Earth, he said, reading from the floating text. Third planet from a yellow star. Population 7 billion. Technology level, barely space-capable. Weapons, crude nuclear devices, and chemical rockets. The other council members nodded with satisfaction. High Commander Zexral leaned forward in his throne-like chair. How long to conquer them completely? 3 days, Vector replied without hesitation. Maybe less. They have no real space defenses. Their largest ships can barely reach their own moon. It will be easier than taking candy from a hatchling. Laughter echoed through the chamber. The Kethmoran had perfected the art of conquest. They would arrive in overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance within hours. It had worked on every world for the past 1,000 years. The great doors to the chamber burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed on the crystal floor. The laughter died instantly. Every head turned toward the entrance. Zarthek limped into the room, his battle-scarred armor still smoking from recent combat. The old emissary's face bore fresh wounds, and his left arm hung useless at his side. Behind him, 2 medtechs hurried to keep up, but he waved them away with his good arm. Honored Council, Zarthek said, his voice rough with exhaustion. I bring urgent news from the Outer Rim. Admiral Vector frowned. Zarthek was supposed to be exploring empty space sectors, looking for new worlds to add to the Empire. Why did he look like he had fought a battle? Speak quickly, High Commander Zexral ordered. We have important matters to discuss. Zarthek straightened despite his obvious pain. I encountered them. The humans. 3 of their ships at the edge of the void sector. Impossible, Vector said. Our scouts report they have never left their home system. Their technology is primitive. That is what I thought too, Zarthek replied. His eyes held a haunted look that made several council members shift uncomfortably. I detected their ships on long-range sensors. 3 small vessels moving through space that should have been empty. I approached to investigate. He paused, touching a fresh scar on his forehead. They vanished. Not jumped to hyperspace. Not cloaked. Vanished. My battlecruiser, with all its advanced sensors, lost them completely. The council exchanged glances. Zarthek was known for his steady nerves and honest reports. He had faced down rebel fleets and cosmic horrors without flinching. What could shake him so badly? Continue, Zexral commanded. I began a full sensor sweep of the area, Zarthek said. Suddenly, one of their ships appeared directly behind me. It had somehow moved through my shields without triggering any alarms. A voice spoke on our communications, clear as if they were in the same room. The old warrior's hand trembled slightly as he continued. A human female. She spoke our language perfectly, though our records show no contact between our species. She said, "You seem lost, friend. This is not a safe place for your kind. We suggest you return to your home space." Arrogant primitives, Vector spat. What did you do? I demanded they identify themselves and explain their presence in Imperial space, Zarthek replied. The human was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that chilled my blood. Imperial space? Oh, you poor things. You have no idea where you are, do you? The chamber fell silent. Outside, the wind howled through the crystal spires, but inside, no one made a sound. Zarthek looked directly at each council member. I fired a warning shot across their bow. Standard procedure. The energy beam simply disappeared, not absorbed or deflected. It ceased to exist the moment it left my weapons. Impossible, several voices said at once. I thought so too, Zarthek said grimly. Then all 3 human ships appeared around my battlecruiser. They moved like nothing I have ever seen, like they were dancing through space itself. One moment here, the next moment there, as if distance meant nothing to them. Admiral Vector stepped forward, his face twisted with disbelief. You command the most powerful ship class in our fleet. You fought cosmic storms and void monsters. 3 primitive ships could not possibly threaten you. They did not threaten me, Zarthek said quietly. That was the most terrifying part. They spoke to me like a parent speaking to a lost child. The woman's voice came again. We know about your empire, Zarthek of the Kethmoran. We know about your wars and your conquests. We know you are a warrior who has seen much pain. The old emissary's voice dropped to almost a whisper. She knew my name, my full name, my rank, my service record. She spoke of battles I had fought in sectors that are not on any public records. She knew things about me that only I should know. High Commander Zexral leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. What did they want? Nothing, Zarthek replied. They gave me safe passage home. But before they vanished again, the woman said one final thing. Tell your leaders that Earth is not what it appears to be. Tell them to stay away. For their own good. The council erupted in angry voices. How dare these primitive humans threaten the mighty empire? Admiral Vector slammed his fist on the nearest console. This is exactly why we must conquer them now, he declared. Before they develop into a real threat. 3 ships are nothing. We will bring 50,000. You do not understand, Zarthek said, raising his voice above the noise. I have fought beside and against every species in this galaxy. I have seen civilizations that could reshape reality. I have witnessed the fall of the ancient ones who built the void gates. But never in all my years of war have I felt what I felt near those human ships. And what was that? Zexral asked. Zarthek met his gaze without flinching. I felt like prey. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be hunted by something far more dangerous than myself. Those humans looked at me the way I look at an enemy before battle, with pity, as if they already knew how it would end. The chamber fell silent again. Zarthek straightened to his full height, ignoring the pain from his wounds. Honored Council, I have served this empire for 300 years. I have never retreated from battle. I have never counseled cowardice. But I beg you now, with everything I have learned in those years of war. He paused, looking each member in the eye. Do not attack the humans. Do not go to Earth. Cancel this invasion immediately. Admiral Vector laughed, but it sounded forced. You ask us to fear primitives who barely know how to leave their own planet? I ask you to fear what we do not understand, Zarthek replied. I ask you to remember that every species we have conquered appeared primitive at first glance. But these humans, they are different. They move through space like it belongs to them. They speak of our empire like it is a curiosity from their past, and they look at us with the patience of those who have seen civilizations rise and fall. He took a deep breath and delivered his final warning. Do not engage the humans. I have faced horrors beyond imagination, but nothing has ever made me feel so small. We should run. Run now while we still can. The silence stretched on for long moments. Then High Commander Zexral spoke, his voice cold and final. Noted and dismissed. Admiral Vector, proceed with the invasion plans. The Empire does not run from primitives. Zarthek closed his eyes and nodded slowly. He had done his duty. He had given his warning. Now he could only hope that somehow, some way, his people would survive what was coming. Admiral Vector stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Imperial Wrath. Around him, 50,000 warships moved through hyperspace toward the Sol system. The largest invasion fleet in Empire history was about to crush a primitive world that dared to threaten them. Jump complete in 30 seconds. His navigation officer announced. Vector smiled, his sharp teeth gleaming in the bridge lights. 3 weeks had passed since Zarthek's ridiculous warning. 3 weeks of careful planning and preparation. The old fool had lost his nerve, but that was fine. It happened to warriors sometimes. Age made them see monsters in the shadows. All ships prepare for standard invasion protocol. He broadcast to the fleet. Remember, we want some of them alive for questioning. Find out how they learned about our technology. The countdown reached 0. Space twisted around them, and suddenly 50,000 Imperial warships appeared in the Sol system. Vector expected to see primitive space stations, crude orbital platforms, and maybe a few chemical rockets attempting desperate escape runs. Instead, he saw almost nothing. Sensor report, he commanded, sir, detecting one small space station orbiting the third planet, several communication satellites. No weapons platforms, no defense fleets. The sensor officer sounded confused. Sir, this matches our intelligence reports exactly. They appear completely defenseless. Vector frowned. Where were the mysterious ships that had terrified Zarthek? Where was the advanced technology that could make a battlecruiser's weapons disappear? Life signs on the planet? He asked. Approximately 7 billion humans, sir. Large cities, primitive infrastructure. They appear to be going about their normal daily activities. The Admiral relaxed. Zarthak had been wrong after all. These humans were exactly what they appeared to be. A primitive species that had barely learned to leave their home world. Whatever the old warrior had encountered in deep space, it had not been connected to Earth. Open a channel to the planet, Vector commanded. All frequencies. The communication officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Vector stood tall, his voice carrying the authority of the greatest empire in the galaxy. Primitive humans of Earth. I am Admiral Vector of the Kethmoran Imperial Fleet. Your world is now under Imperial control. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. You have 1 hour to respond. He cut the channel and turned to his tactical officer. Show me their largest cities. Prepare to demonstrate our power if they refuse. For long minutes, nothing happened. The human cities continued their normal activities. No panicked evacuation. No desperate military mobilization. No response at all. Sir, the communication officer called out. Incoming transmission. Single source. Put it on screen. The main display flickered to life, showing the interior of what appeared to be a small spacecraft. A human woman sat in a simple chair, wearing clothes that looked like a casual uniform. She had short brown hair and calm brown eyes. Behind her, Vector could see basic control panels and displays that looked centuries behind Imperial technology. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Coordination, the woman said. Her voice was steady and polite, as if she were greeting a neighbor. I'm responding to your recent communication. Vector stared at the screen. This single human, in her tiny primitive ship, was responding to an invasion fleet of 50,000 vessels. Where was the fear? Where was the panic? Human, he said, trying to sound intimidating. I am Admiral Vector. You face the might of the Kethmoran Empire. Surrender now or watch your world burn. Captain Chen nodded politely. I understand your position, Admiral. However, I need to inform you that you are currently in violation of Terran space. This system is under our protection. Laughter erupted across the bridge. Several officers had to hold their sides. This primitive woman thought her tiny ship could protect an entire star system from the Imperial fleet? Your protection? Vector managed between chuckles. Human, you command one small vessel. I command 50,000 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. What possible protection could you offer? More than you might expect, Captain Chen replied calmly. This is your only warning, Admiral. You have 30 minutes to leave our system. We have no desire for conflict, but we will not tolerate aggression against our home. The laughter on the bridge died. The woman's tone had not changed at all. She spoke as if she held all the advantages, as if 50,000 Imperial ships were no more threatening than a flock of harmless birds. 30 minutes? Vector's voice rose in anger. Human, I could destroy your entire planet in 30 seconds. I'm sure you believe that, Captain Chen said. 29 minutes now. I strongly suggest you use them wisely. The Admiral's face darkened with rage. Tactical officer. Target their moon with a planet cracker beam. Show them what real power looks like. Yes, sir. The tactical officer's hands danced over his controls. Planet cracker charged and ready. Firing now! The Imperial wrath shuddered slightly as the massive weapon discharged. A beam of pure energy capable of cracking a planet in half lanced out toward Earth's moon. Every officer on the bridge watched with satisfaction. This would end the humans' arrogance quickly. The beam raced through space, growing brighter as it approached its target. Then, impossibly, it simply stopped. The energy dispersed harmlessly, as if it had hit an invisible wall that stretched across the entire system. What? Vector spun toward his tactical officer. What happened? I don't know, sir. The beam should have hit. Our targeting was perfect, but something stopped it. Something absorbed the entire energy discharge. Warning alarms suddenly began blaring across the bridge. The sensor officer's voice cracked with panic. Sir! Gravitational anomalies detected throughout the system. Energy readings that shouldn't be possible. Space itself is behaving strangely. On the main screen, Captain Chen remained calm. That was not a wise demonstration, Admiral. You just proved our point about your aggressive intentions. How? Vector demanded. How did you stop our weapon? The same way we've stopped every aggressive action in the system for the past several decades, she replied. Admiral, your intelligence reports are very outdated. Earth is not what it appears to be. The sensor officer's voice rose to near hysteria. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy sources throughout the system. They were hidden somehow, but they're becoming visible now. I count hundreds of thousands of ships. Impossible! Vector shouted. Show me. The tactical display updated, and every officer on the bridge fell silent. What had appeared to be empty space was now filled with contacts. Human ships of designs that hurt to look at directly, massive constructs that seemed to bend light around them, vessels that appeared to phase in and out of reality itself. They were everywhere, above the Imperial fleet, below it, behind it, surrounding it completely. 50,000 Imperial ships found themselves outnumbered 10-1 by an enemy that had been invisible moments before. Cloaking technology, Vector whispered. But how? Our sensors should detect any known cloaking method. Captain Chen's voice continued from the speakers, still perfectly calm. You have 26 minutes remaining, Admiral. I recommend you begin your withdrawal immediately. Withdraw? Vector's pride overcame his growing fear. Never all ships attack formation. Show these primitives the power of the Empire. Sir? His tactical officer said hesitantly. I'm having trouble getting weapon locks. The human ships keep shifting. They're not moving normally through space. Find a way, Vector commanded. We are the Kethmoran Empire. We do not retreat from primitives. On the screen, Captain Chen sighed softly. I was hoping you would reconsider. Very well. Admiral, please stand by for a demonstration of why we asked you to leave peacefully. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was silent except for the hum of ship systems and the distant wail of alerts. Then a new voice came over the communication system, an older human male, speaking with the authority of long command experience. Attention, Imperial Fleet. This is Admiral Marcus Reeves, Terran Defense Force. You came to our home with weapons charged and conquest in your hearts. You have refused our peaceful warning. You have attacked our system with planet-killing weapons. Admiral Vector felt something cold settle in his stomach. The human's voice carried absolute confidence, the tone of someone who held every advantage and knew it. What happens next will be transmitted to your empire as an educational message. Admiral Reeves continued. We suggest you compose yourselves accordingly. Your ships will not be destroyed unless you continue hostile actions. Your crews will be treated with honor, but your invasion ends now. How? Vector whispered to himself. How can primitives do this? His question was answered by his sensor officer's trembling report. Sir, we can't retreat. Something is interfering with our jump drives. Quantum communications are being jammed. We're completely cut off from the Empire. Admiral Vector finally understood Zarthek's warning. These were not primitives. These were something far more dangerous, something that had been hiding in plain sight, something that had been watching and waiting and preparing, and now the trap had closed. Admiral Vector stared at the tactical display with growing horror. What had seemed like an easy conquest was rapidly becoming a nightmare. The human ships moved through space in ways that violated everything he knew about physics. They appeared and disappeared without using any recognizable propulsion system. Some seemed to fold space around themselves while others moved through what looked like tears in reality itself. All ships open fire, he commanded. Overwhelm them with sheer numbers. The Imperial fleet responded instantly. 50,000 warships unleashed their weapons at once. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and particle cannons lit up the solar system like a deadly fireworks display. The firepower was enough to sterilize entire star systems. Not a single shot hit its target. The human ships moved like dancers through the storm of weapons fire. They twisted and spun, appearing in one location and instantly materializing somewhere else. Some simply ignored the weapons entirely, letting energy beams pass through them as if they were ghosts. Impossible, Vector breathed. Nothing can move like that. His tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. Sir, our targeting computers can't lock onto them. They're predicting our fire patterns and moving before we even shoot. It's like they know what we're going to do before we do it. Worse than the humans' impossible movement was their response to the Imperial attack. They did nothing. No return fire, no aggressive maneuvers, no obvious threats. They simply continued their graceful dance through space, avoiding every shot with casual ease. Status report, Vector demanded. No hits on any human vessels, came the reply. They're not even trying to engage us, sir. They're just avoiding our fire. The Admiral felt sweat beading on his forehead. An enemy that could effortlessly avoid the combined firepower of 50,000 ships was terrifying enough. An enemy that chose not to fight back was somehow worse. It meant they were so confident in their superiority that the Imperial fleet was not even worth taking seriously. "Sir," the navigation officer's voice was high with fear, "we have a problem. Our ships at the edge of the formation are reporting navigation failures. The stars aren't where they should be." "What do you mean?" Vector spun toward the navigation station. "The star patterns have changed, sir. Constellations that should be visible aren't there. Others have appeared that shouldn't exist. It's like we're not in the same part of space anymore." Admiral Vector felt ice forming in his veins. "Check our position. Confirm our location." "I can't, sir. Our navigation systems are reading impossible data. According to our instruments, we're simultaneously in the Sol system, in deep space, and in a region that doesn't exist on any star charts." The communication officer suddenly straightened at his station. "Sir, incoming transmission from the humans. Put it through." The main screen activated, showing the same human woman from before. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her simple chair, looking as calm as if she were discussing the weather. "Admiral Vector," she said politely, "I hope you're beginning to understand your situation. You are no longer in normal space. We have isolated this region from the rest of the galaxy." "What have you done?" Vector demanded. "Created a teaching environment," she replied. "Your empire needs to learn an important lesson about the consequences of unprovoked aggression. What happens here will be recorded and transmitted to your leaders. Think of it as an educational demonstration." Behind Captain Chen, Vector could see other humans working at various stations. They moved with quiet efficiency, showing no stress or excitement despite facing the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. They acted like this was routine for them. "You cannot hold us here forever," Vector said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "The Empire will send more fleets." "Will they?" Captain Chen asked. "Admiral, do you know how long your empire has existed?" The question caught him off guard. "What does that matter?"
4,000 years, she continued without waiting for his answer.
"A respectable run for a galactic civilization. Not the longest we've seen, but certainly not the shortest." Vector felt his blood run cold. "We've seen? What do you mean?" "We've been watching galactic civilizations rise and fall for a very long time, Admiral. Your empire is not the first to discover Earth. It's not even the 10th. Most civilizations that find us are peaceful. They explore, they trade, they learn. But some, like yours, come with conquest in mind." The human woman leaned forward slightly, and for the first time Vector saw something dangerous in her calm brown eyes. "Those aggressive civilizations always receive the same message we tried to give you. Leave peacefully and no harm will come to you. Continue your aggression and face the consequences. Your empire chose poorly. Our intelligence reports showed you were primitive," Vector protested. "Chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. How can you possibly have this technology?" Captain Chen smiled, and somehow that smile was more terrifying than any weapon. "Admiral, what did your intelligence reports tell you about our history? 7 billion primitives who barely learned to leave their planet. Did those reports mention that we achieved spaceflight 600 years ago? Did they tell you about our first contact with galactic civilization 3 centuries past? Did they explain why we choose to appear primitive to species like yours?" The Admiral's mouth went dry. "What are you saying?" "We are saying that your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see," a new voice said. The screen split, showing another human. This one was an older man with gray hair and the bearing of a career military officer. He wore a simple uniform with no elaborate decorations, but his presence commanded immediate attention. "I am Admiral Marcus Reeves," he said, "and I'm afraid your empire has made a serious mistake. You see, we learned long ago that aggressive species cannot be reasoned with. They only understand demonstrations of superior force." "You're bluffing," Vector said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You cannot possibly have technology this advanced." "Can't we?" Admiral Reeves asked. "Tell me, Admiral, what do you know about the species that built the void gates? The ancient ones who could reshape matter with thought alone?" Vector's eyes widened. "The ancient ones were legendary. A species so advanced they had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. Every child in the Empire knew the stories. They're myths," he said weakly. "Are they?" Admiral Reeves smiled the same terrifying smile as Captain Chen. "Admiral, who do you think taught us to build ships that ignore the laws of physics? Who showed us how to fold space and time to our will? Who gifted us with technology that makes your most advanced weapons look like stone tools?" The tactical display suddenly changed. The human ships began moving in formation, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Reality seemed to bend around them, and space itself began to ripple like water. The ancient ones didn't disappear, Admiral Reeves continued. They evolved. They became something greater than physical existence, but before they transcended, they chose a species to carry on their legacy, to watch over the galaxy, to protect the innocent and educate the aggressive. Admiral Vector felt his legs give out. He collapsed into his command chair, staring at the impossible sight of human ships that moved like living thoughts through twisted space. "You're them," he whispered. "You're the inheritors. We prefer the term gardeners," Captain Chen said gently. "We tend the galaxy, Admiral. We help peaceful species grow and flourish, and we prune away those that threaten the garden's health." The sensor officer's voice was barely a whisper. "Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildup from the human ships. Power levels that don't make sense. It's like they're drawing energy from space itself." Admiral Reeves leaned forward on the screen. "Admiral Vector, your invasion of Earth ends now. What happens next depends entirely on you. Will you and your crews cooperate with our demonstration? Will you accept treatment as honored prisoners of war? Or will you force us to use methods that would traumatize your people? What kind of demonstration?" Vector asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "We're going to show your empire exactly why aggressive species should choose their targets more carefully," Admiral Reeves replied. "We're going to demonstrate the difference between primitive technology and truly advanced civilization. And we're going to do it with the minimum necessary force because, unlike your empire, we take no pleasure in destruction." The old Admiral's eyes grew sad. "We've had to give this lesson many times over the centuries, Admiral Vector. Some species learn from it and become valuable members of galactic civilization. Others refuse to learn and eventually destroy themselves through their own aggression." He paused, looking directly into Vector's eyes through the screen. "Which will your empire choose to be?" Before Vector could answer, space around the Imperial fleet began to change once again. This time, even the humans' own ships seemed to fade as something far larger and more magnificent took shape around them. Structures that dwarfed entire star systems began to materialize, and Admiral Vector finally understood the true scope of humanity's power. The lesson was about to begin. Admiral Vector watched in silent horror as reality reshaped itself around his fleet. The human ships had been impressive enough, but what emerged from folded space defied all understanding. Massive structures appeared that seemed to stretch across entire star systems. They were not built from any material he recognized. Instead, they looked like crystallized starlight, woven space-time and compressed probability itself. "By the ancient ones," his sensor officer whispered. "Sir, these readings, they're not ships. They're not even structures. They're like pieces of living space." The demonstration began without warning or fanfare. One moment, the Imperial Dreadnought Starcrusher was firing its main batteries at human targets. The next moment, it simply wasn't there anymore. Not destroyed, not damaged, but absent, as if it had never existed at all. "Where did it go?" Vector demanded. I don't know, sir. It's not on sensors. There's no debris field. No energy signature from an explosion. It's just gone." Then impossibly, the Starcrusher reappeared exactly where it had been. But something was different. Instead of its usual dark metal hull, the massive warship now gleamed like a work of art. Every surface had been transformed into intricate patterns of silver and gold that seemed to shift and dance in the starlight. "Status. Report from the Starcrusher," Vector shouted. "They're responding, sir," the communication officer said, his voice filled with confusion. "Captain Mordak reports that his ship is fully functional. Better than functional, actually. He says all their systems are operating at peak efficiency, but the entire hull has been decorated. He's sending visual feeds now." The main screen split to show the interior of the Starcrusher. Admiral Vector gasped. The cramped utilitarian corridors had been transformed into soaring galleries. Every wall displayed beautiful artwork that seemed to move and change as he watched. The crew looked healthy and alert, but they were clearly overwhelmed by their surroundings. "What did you do to them?" Vector demanded over the open channel to the humans. Captain Chen's voice came back as calm as ever. "We improved their ship. Quite dramatically, actually. The Starcrusher now operates at about 300% of its original efficiency. We also took the liberty of upgrading their life support systems, medical bay, and recreational facilities." "Why?" "Because we can. Admiral Reeves replied, his image appearing alongside Captain Chen's. And because we wanted to demonstrate the difference between destruction and creation, we could have erased that ship from existence. Instead, we made it better. Across the battlefield, more impossible things began happening. Imperial ships found their weapons fire redirected in ways that violated the laws of physics. Energy beams curved back on themselves, creating beautiful light shows instead of destruction. Missile barrages transformed into clouds of harmless particles that sparkled like diamonds against the star field. A group of Imperial fighters attempted to strafe one of the human vessels. As they approached, the fighters suddenly found themselves flying in perfect formation with their target. No matter how they maneuvered, they remained locked in synchronized flight patterns that turned their attack run into an elaborate aerial dance. "This is impossible," one of the fighter pilots reported over the radio. "I can't break formation. My ship won't respond to my controls, but I'm not in danger. It's like something is flying for me." Admiral Vector watched his mighty invasion fleet being systematically neutralized without a single shot being fired in return. The humans weren't fighting them. They were playing with them, demonstrating their complete control over the situation with casual ease that was more terrifying than any weapon. "Incoming transmission from multiple Imperial ships," his communication officer reported. "Sir, they're requesting permission to surrender." "What?" "The crews are asking to surrender, sir. They say the humans are treating them with incredible kindness. Medical teams are boarding damaged ships and healing wounded crew members with technology that seems like magic. They're offering food, entertainment, and cultural exchanges." Admiral Vector felt his worldview crumbling. Cultural exchanges? In the middle of a battle? "It's not a battle anymore, sir," his tactical officer said quietly. "I don't think it ever was. We're not fighting an enemy. We're being educated by our superiors." On the main screen, Admiral Reeves nodded approvingly. "Your tactical officer is correct, Admiral Vector. This stopped being a battle the moment you entered our space. You brought 50,000 ships to intimidate 7 billion humans, but what you actually did was bring 50,000 opportunities for us to demonstrate why aggression is a poor strategy in this galaxy." The demonstration continued around them. Human ships moved through the Imperial formation like teachers walking through a classroom. Everywhere they went, damaged vessels were repaired, injured crew members were healed, and weapon systems were peacefully disabled with technology that treated physics as a set of suggestions rather than laws. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, his voice filled with wonder, "the humans are sharing technical specifications with our ships. They're uploading complete schematics for technologies that would advance our civilization by thousands of years." "Why?" Vector asked. "Why help us after we attacked you?" Admiral Reeves smiled sadly. "Because, Admiral, we remember what it was like to be young and aggressive. Humanity went through its own phase of conquest and war. We made many of the same mistakes your empire is making now." Captain Chen took over the explanation. "When we first encountered the Ancient Ones, we were much like you. Violent, territorial, convinced that might made right. They could have destroyed us easily. Instead, they chose to educate us, to show us a better way. They gave us knowledge," Admiral Reeves continued. "But more importantly, they gave us perspective. They showed us what we could become if we chose growth over conquest, understanding over domination." Around the fleet, the demonstration was reaching its conclusion. Imperial ships that had been damaged in the brief exchange of fire were now completely restored. More than restored, they were improved beyond recognition. Crews reported that their ships were now faster, more efficient, and more comfortable than anything in the Imperial fleet. "Admiral Vector," Captain Chen said gently, "your crews are not prisoners. They are guests. Any who wish to return to the Empire will be free to do so. But we suspect many will choose to stay and learn from us just as humans once learned from our teachers." The Admiral looked around his bridge. His own crew was staring at displays showing technical information that was beyond their understanding. Blueprints for faster-than-light drives that didn't require fuel, medical technology that could heal any injury or disease, energy systems that drew power from the quantum foam of space itself. "This is all real?" he asked weakly. "As real as the choice your empire must now make," Admiral Reeves replied. "You came here to conquer primitives. Instead, you found teachers. You can return to your leaders with weapons and tales of defeat, or you can return with knowledge and stories of hope. What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Captain Chen said simply. "We want nothing from your empire except the promise that you will remember this lesson." When you encounter species weaker than yourselves, remember how we treated you. When you face the choice between conquest and cooperation, remember what you learned here. Admiral Vector looked at the tactical display one final time. His mighty invasion fleet had been completely neutralized without a single casualty. His ships were better than they had ever been. His crews were healthier and happier than they had been in years. And his understanding of the galaxy had been forever changed. The demonstration is complete, Admiral Reeves announced. In 6 hours, you will be returned to the edge of Imperial space. Your ships, your crews, and complete recordings of everything that happened here will be your gifts to take home. Gifts? Evidence, Captain Chen corrected gently. Evidence that there are still teachers in this galaxy. Evidence that advanced civilizations don't have to choose conquest over compassion. And evidence that the universe is far more wonderful and strange than your empire ever imagined. Admiral Vector closed his eyes and nodded slowly. The invasion was over. The lesson had been learned. Now came the hardest part, convincing his empire to listen. Admiral Vector stood on his bridge as space twisted around the Imperial fleet. The humans had kept their promise. Exactly 24 hours after the demonstration began, they were being transported back to the edge of Kethmaran space. But everything had changed. The Imperial Wrath was no longer the same ship that had entered the Sol system. Her hull gleamed with new materials that were stronger than anything in the Imperial arsenal. Her engines hummed with quiet efficiency, drawing power from sources his engineers couldn't identify. Most importantly, her data banks contained complete recordings of everything that had happened. Sir, his communication officer reported, we're receiving signals from the rest of the fleet. All ships are reporting similar upgrades. Medical bays that can heal anything, power systems that never need fuel, and technologies we don't understand but somehow know how to operate. More than half his crews had chosen to remain with the humans. They hadn't been coerced or threatened, simply given the choice between returning to the Empire's endless wars or staying to learn from beings who treated physics as an art form. Many had chosen knowledge over conquest. What about the ones who stayed behind? Hector asked. They'll be returned when they're ready, sir. The humans promise that any Imperial citizen who wants to go home will be given safe passage. But they also said that many will choose to become teachers themselves, spreading what they learn to other species. Admiral Vector nodded slowly. He understood the choice. After seeing what humanity could accomplish with their inherited technology, the Empire's constant warfare seemed primitive and pointless. Sir, incoming transmission from High Command, the communication officer announced. Put it through. High Commander Zexral's image appeared on the screen, his face twisted with anger. Admiral Vector, report. Why have you been out of contact for over a day? Status of the invasion. The invasion is over, Vector replied calmly. We have returned with important intelligence about the humans. Over? Did you crush the primitives quickly? How many slaves did you take? No slaves, Commander. No conquest. The humans are not what we thought they were. Zexral's eyes narrowed. Explain yourself, Admiral. The humans are the inheritors of the Ancient Ones, Commander. They possess technology that makes our most advanced weapons look like stone tools. They could have destroyed our entire fleet without effort. Instead, they chose to educate us. Ridiculous. You face 50,000 ships against primitives and you speak of education? Admiral Vector transmitted the sensor readings from the battle. Look at the data, Commander. Watch the recordings. Then tell me these are primitives. For several minutes, Zexral watched in silence as the recordings played. His expression changed from anger to confusion to growing horror as he saw Imperial ships transformed into works of art. Weapons redirected into light shows and human vessels that moved through space like living thoughts. This cannot be real, he whispered. It is completely real, Vector replied, and it is only a small demonstration of their capabilities. Commander, they have given us technologies that will advance our civilization by millennia, medical knowledge that can eliminate disease and injury, energy systems that could end resource scarcity forever. What do they want in return? Nothing. They ask only that we remember the lesson and apply it to our interactions with other species. High Commander Zexral was quiet for a long moment. Then his image flickered and changed. Instead of his face, text began scrolling across the screen, not just on Vector's ship but on every Imperial vessel simultaneously, on every communication network throughout the Empire, on personal devices, military channels, and civilian broadcasts. The message appeared in every language spoken within Imperial space. to the Kethmaran Empire and all who would follow their example. You entered our home uninvited, with weapons charged and conquest in your hearts. We defended ourselves with the minimum necessary force. Consider this a demonstration of our patience, not our capabilities. Humanity seeks no empire, claims no territory beyond our system, and wishes only to be left in peace. But understand this. We have walked between stars while your species was still discovering fire. We have been watching your empires rise and fall for longer than your history's record. We are not your enemy, but we will not be your victim. To those who come in peace, our doors are open. To those who come in war, we warned them, run now. They chose not to listen. You have seen the result. Choose wisely. The message continued with detailed coordinates throughout Imperial space. Locations where humans had been present for centuries without being detected. Trade stations, research outposts, diplomatic facilities, and cultural centers that had operated under everyone's notice. Admiral Vector realized with growing amazement that humanity hadn't been hiding on Earth at all. They had been quietly integrated into galactic civilization for hundreds of years, watching, learning, and subtly guiding younger species away from self-destruction. Sir, his sensor officer called out, I'm detecting massive gravitic disturbances throughout the Empire. Something is revealing itself. The tactical display updated to show the true scope of human presence in the galaxy. Hidden installations became visible on sensors that had been scanning those areas for centuries, without detecting anything. Massive structures that had been disguised as natural. Phenomena revealed themselves as human. Constructions. A space station that had been considered a profitable mining asteroid for 200 years suddenly showed signs of advanced life, support and manufacturing capabilities. A neutron star that scientists had studied for decades revealed itself to be a human energy collection facility. An entire nebula that had been mapped and cataloged turned out to be a human city, home to billions of beings from dozens of species. How long have they been watching us? Zexral asked in a shaken voice. Since before our empire existed, Vector replied, reading from the data streaming across his displays. The humans have been active in this galaxy for over 3,000 years. They helped guide the Altarian Republic through their first contact protocols. They provided medical assistance during the Zephyrian Plague. They've prevented at least 12 major wars between species that could have devastated entire sectors. And we never knew. They only reveal themselves when necessary, when aggressive species threaten peaceful ones, when young civilizations need guidance, when the garden needs tending. The message concluded with a personal note that appeared only on Admiral Vector's screen. Admiral, you commanded this invasion with honor even when faced with the impossible. Your warriors fought bravely and accepted defeat with dignity. These are qualities we respect. When you are ready, seek out the vessel Remembrance at the coordinates we have provided. We have much to discuss about the true nature of leadership in this galaxy. Admiral Vector shared the coordinates with his navigation officer, then opened a channel to his fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Vector. We have learned important truths today. The galaxy is not what we thought it was. We are not the most advanced species in it. But we have been given a gift beyond price, the knowledge that we can choose to be better. He paused, looking at the faces of his bridge crew. They were no longer the same warriors who had left Imperial space days ago. They had seen wonders that changed their understanding of existence itself. Some of you will choose to return to your families and share what you have learned. Others will seek out the humans and learn from them directly. Both choices are honorable, but remember this. We came here as conquerors and leave as students. We brought weapons and received wisdom. We offered destruction, and were given hope. Across the Empire, the recordings of the Sol system demonstration were being broadcast on every channel. Citizens watched in amazement as their mighty invasion fleet was gently educated by beings who treated the laws of physics as artistic suggestions. Military leaders studied tactics that involved healing enemies instead of destroying them. Scientists pored over technical specifications that promised to revolutionize Imperial technology. Not everyone accepted the lesson. Some commanders refused to believe the recordings were real. Some politicians demanded immediate retaliation against the humans. Some military leaders called for even larger invasion fleets, but many others, like old Zarthek, finally felt vindicated in their warnings. The veteran warrior had been monitoring communications from the border systems when the first reports came in. Now he sat in his modest quarters, composing a response to the human invitation he had received. The humans remembered that he had tried to warn his people. They offered him a chance to meet with them, to learn about the galaxy's true history, and to help guide other species away from the path of destructive conquest. Admiral Vector made his choice as well. After delivering his report to High Command and watching the Empire begin its difficult process of accepting new realities, he set course for the coordinates the humans had provided. The Imperial Wrath, now more advanced than any ship in the Empire's fleet, jumped toward a rendezvous with beings who had shown him that true strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to choose mercy over vengeance. Behind him, the Kethmoran Empire faced its most important decision in 4,000 years of existence.